We're going to kick it off here. We'll wind down the mellow tunes. Hi, everyone. Welcome to the biweekly Rally Creator and Dev Meetup. I'm happy to see you all. Happy to be stepping in as host. Welcome. Excited to dig in. We've got a pretty full agenda today. Lots to cover. So we'll jump straight in. As we get rolling, I'm going to drop a link to the Slido into the chat. Feel free to hop in and toss us some questions. We'll have time at the end to address Q&A from the crew. And we'll keep an eye on the folks who are still rolling in. Joe, maybe let some more folks in if they do show up a little late here. So quick look at our agenda for today. We'll do a round of welcome and then some updates. And then I'm excited to hand it over to Chris Fortier, our VP of Product, to walk through our 2022 product vision. Really excited to share that with you. We'll do a round of kudos, some Q&A, and away we go. There's that link to that Slido again. If you want to dual screen here and use your phone to hit it, grab that QR code. So some quick updates. We'll run through these in order. I'll start out with some stats for you. We've got a really great update on some statistics regarding coin usage, including an answer to a long asked for top 10. So excited to share that. I'll then hand it over to Claire from the onboarding side to talk through info sessions as well as our mentor program, 2 new initiatives that we're excited to roll out. I'll give you a quick update from the content and education side. And then we'll hand it over to Jason Stein to talk through some dev ecosystem and funding updates before we get over to Chris's longer update. So regarding KPIs, this is for the last 2 weeks rolling, Monday to Sunday. We're excited to be sharing these updates again, and you can expect these kinds of updates from the team on a rolling basis going forward. This will be a regular feature on the program. 72.7 million rally total in the sidechain. The bridge in and bridge out numbers are there. 677K in, 2.6 million out, 524K in buys versus 153 million in converts in, and then 4 million paid out in rally rewards over that 2-week period. I think the part that I was most excited to share here is the 2 charts on the right that show creator growth. This is over a 3-month period, seeing us roll from 254 to 270. Tracking this as a function of time is exciting because we're adding more great folks to the community. And then as well, looking at the amount of rally total in the sidechain, seeing that scale, outpacing creator growth and really growing significantly over the last 3-month period to 72.7 at the top there. And then this is a first look at a leaderboard. Excited to share top 10s in terms of the number of wallets holding each of the coins. That's the one on the left. In the middle, we've got the tokens that are fastest growing in terms of volume held. And on the right is, fastest growing in terms of number of wallets holding. And on the right is dollars is rally backing, total rally backing per coin. I'll leave this up for just a second so everyone can kind of look at it. Great to see a bunch of newer tokens on here as well. An exciting mix of some of our favorite names. And with that, I'll hand it over to Claire. Give us an update on the info sessions. Hi, Claire.
Hi, everyone. You may have seen some posts about our info sessions in Discord. We did do a soft rollout in December and January for this, but I'm excited to formally announce that we've codified it. So the audience for these are interested potential creators and other supporters of the community. Cadence will be once a month with a 30-minute presentation format and a Q&A session afterwards. So it's a great opportunity to come and ask any potential questions that you might have if you're someone who wants to start creating, or someone who wants to start creating an economy on our platform. And the goal is really to provide that overview of social tokens, creator economies, and Rally to newer members of our community and start socializing the whole application process so that it becomes less of a mystery. So we have a link in the application page as well as on this doc. So we'll share those both out when we get a chance to in the newsletter. And the next session is going to be Tuesday, February 15th at 12 p.m. PST. Brian and I host those. So if you want to come join us, we'd appreciate the support. You can go to the next slide, Brian. All right. Another exciting update that I'm thrilled to announce is that we are kicking off our mentorship program. So the goal is to connect new Rally creators to veteran creators for mentorship sessions in 6 weeks total. So the goal here is to go ahead and have enough folks collected to go ahead and connect to our new mentees as we kick off new folks creator economies. So the hope is to have 1 meeting per week for 6 total weeks. So a 4 to 6 hour time commitment on the mentorship side, and mentors must commit to a minimum of 2 cycles. What we would love to do is have established creators who have been on the platform for 3 months and have a total of at least 150 supporters on Rally, and that makes you eligible for mentoring. And you can sign up through the form that we'll link out and share in the newsletter as well. But ultimately, this is going to be a really great way to connect our newbie mentors with folks who know what's going on and how to go ahead and set up a really successful economy on the platform. And thanks for dropping those links into the chat. If everyone wants to take a look there, you can sign up there, and there's a little more information as well.
Stellar. Thanks a ton, Claire. Those are both awesome initiatives. Really excited to get those kicked off. And a quick update from me on content. These are both just the quick blurbs from 2 pieces that are new to the Rally blog. I'll drop a link to the blog in the chat. A really great interview with Devin Shelton from Emory, which is from the Walls coin, talking about the transition to new technologies with a long-term fan base. They've been making music for almost 20 years and talking about, evolving with the times and bringing an old audience to a new community platform is really interesting. As well, one of the longer form pieces that we've posted is the social token playbook for streamers. You can expect to see more content like this from us going forward. Our own Ramon Chanco, who's a member of the team, helped us draft this, and it's really designed to help bring somebody from 0 to 1 on streaming on Twitch and the other platforms that you might use as a streamer, to bring Rally with you on that journey. So a lot of really great documentation on the kinds of integrations that are possible on Twitch. Look for more of those coming too. We're working on one for Discord and for other verticals as well. And if you ever have ideas or things that you'd like to see us do case studies or product on, feel free to find me on Discord. I'm Brian on there. I'm all over the place and always happy to help build what we need to make the community most successful. And then up next, what you'll see from us this week, I've got an article coming from a member of the community, the magic of turning an audience into a community. Excited to get that posted later on this week. And then next week, we'll see an interview with Nicolina Moon from Mooncoin. And we'll also have Alexander and Mason joining us next week for the community call to talk a little bit about the work that they've been doing, helping other creators find success on the platform. Really excited to talk about the ecosystems that are required to help build successful token economies and to share more key learnings there. And with that, I'm going to hand it to Jason for a quick update on the dev ecosystem.
Thanks, Brian. Hey, everyone. There's not a lot of major changes here, but just want to give a quick refresher. So there are claimed bounties out there. We have one being built right now around coin and or NFT gating for polling and voting. And then also token gated Slack channels is in testing right now. We do have that kind of being reviewed and hoping to finalize it this week or early next week. So some exciting stuff there. And then in regards to grants, WordPress gating has a pilot that is out. We had a little bit of a demo of that, I believe, last week. It looks really good, and it's being built quickly, which is nice. And I know there's demand for it on the creator side as well. Shopify is also in testing, and the other ones in here I think are also unchanged, but really quick. The gated live streaming has an ETA of April, centralized dashboard for creators in August. And then Twitter and YouTube bots are also on there as well for April, with finishing this out is the creator coin checkout, which should be coming up shortly as well. So not a lot of changes here, but overall there's been really good progress, and we're excited to wrap up those bounties from January. If Dave is on the call and has anything to add here, I think I saw him. Dave, jump in. Otherwise, we can move on to the next slide. I think
I am here. Thank you so much. For
okay, go for it, Dave.
Yeah. Thanks. I just want to mention again that we have a fantastic grant program. So we're trying to fund, really great projects. A quote from one of the creators today was, "I just wish I had more things I can use for." Well, it was a quote, so I should probably read it. "All I want is more things to do with my token for my community." So if you guys have any ideas for things that can be built, and if you are a builder or know a builder, whether it's a game they want to make, we have a few different ways we can do that kind of stuff now. We have a great grant application process. We're not super picky about the ideas that come across, just that they provide relatively short time frame value for creators. So please fill out a grant application if you know somebody who might want it to dev on Rally. And if you need some help, guidance with that, there's a dev general channel where people are around almost 24 hours a day to learn about things or see what's possible or available. So even if you're curious, come on by and say hello. Thank you.
Awesome. Thanks, Dave. That's it on our side. Go to the next
Awesome.
slide. Thank you.
Cool. Thanks for the update, Jason. And with that, I'm excited to turn it over to our own Chris Fortier, the VP of Product here at Rally.
Thanks, Brian. And thanks, everybody. I've got approximately 120 minutes of content and maybe 80 slides. So get excited, grab another cup of coffee. Let's roll to it. All right, let's advance. And KT got a preview of this yesterday with the dev community meeting. All right, next slide, Sarah. There we go. And one more. So first I think you went backwards. Yeah, sweet. And we're there. No worries. We got this. Okay. So I want to give some context into what I'm presenting right now. You heard from Bremner the results of a lot of community listening, a lot of leadership conversations, and the distillation of that became our vision, our mission for 2022, and Bremner's forum post. It turns out that a mission, particularly when sort of conceived of in that vision or aspirational context, doesn't necessarily translate to something that is executable. That's actually my role. My role is to take leadership's big ideas and turn them into a plan that we can actually go and do. And then my very specific role is, once we have that plan, to empower product managers and the engineers they work with to do things that are not just executable, but measurable and actionable. So what we're presenting here is that middle layer of things that are, downstream of the aspiration, things that can be executed on, but these are still bigger picture concepts. This is like 5,000 feet. So these are not things that we're going to measure ourselves on explicitly, but I am going to give you exactly the roadmap for how we get there. So hopefully it gives you a little bit of context in terms of what this stuff is. And then the last thing I'll leave you with on this slide is this is a product strategy for about 3 years. So if you see individual features, we're not going to go dark for 3 years, but there are going to be a number of things that are going to take time to build. And this is giving you enough of a heads up and a roadmap for where we want to head, not just like, here's the stuff we're going to ship in the first half of 2022. Cool. With that context, let's advance. So what is our strategy? Rally builds the tools and services that enable the creation, launch, and growth of token-based communities. We ensure abundant utility and interoperability by building and partnering with the entire creative ecosystem. And if you've heard enough corporate pitches, you know that any really major sentences like this always have a lot of wordsmithing and always have a lot of build up to define what all these terms mean. Don't worry, we've got slides for all that. So we're going to take this strategy, these two sentences, and turn them into very distinct areas of work. Next slide, please. Thank you. So let's break it down. Our core product offerings and our areas of focus: enable the creation, launch, and growth of token-based communities, build creator tools and services with lots and lots of utility and interoperability, and then build meaningful partnerships with the creative ecosystem. I'm going to take these one by one, perfect, and work you through the ramifications and sort of implications of what this means for Rally as a product, what this means for my team, and what this means for you that you can count on for us to do for you. Okay. We think that this crew believes with us that Web3 has created a really unique opportunity for communities to have radical ownership, for tokenization to lead to transparency and to the opportunity to reward folks for their work, to create interesting things, and that all of those together in the Web3 context are creating fundamentally new things. We also think that our current execution with the Rally sidechain is taking advantage of all those really cool things and is itself a bit of a centralized form of some of these Web3 ideas. So we've been taken to calling our Rally sidechain Web 2.5, and it should surprise no one that we are going to be talking about how we move Rally into more and more Web3 spaces and how we continue to build on the really amazing things that Web3 is good at and bring those to you guys and to your communities. On the next slide, I'm going to define one of our key terms, which is a token-based community. We think that a token-based community is a community that is choosing to organize itself around a new set of principles. And a lot of those principles are very Web3. And a lot of those Web3 principles are enabled by the use of social tokens, NFTs, and other means of kind of pouring community and creator time into a unit that can be passed around, exchanged, and rewarded to folks. So a token-based community is a group of people who are creating and collaborating and leaning in on these new concepts together using the new Web3 tools available to them. And those are the people that we want to help. And if there was any sort of difference between how Rally thought of itself before and how Rally is choosing to execute with this strategy, I think it's that we are leaning in to embrace more types of community. In sort of previous pitches from us, you probably heard a lot about creators and creator-led communities. We also think that there's an opportunity for many-to-many communities. We think there are lots of kinds of communities that can succeed with tokens. And by broadening our focus here to token-based communities generally, we hope to be able to better serve and better identify communities that we can help. Next slide. So what is Web 2.5? Web 2.5 is not something to be scared of. It's actually a really, really cool thing, but it's also not the end of our story. So we are highlighting that our sidechain is called the Forte sidechain. This is not a change. There's no new sidechain. We're just referring to it this way because it acknowledges that there is another company that we collaborate with to build this sidechain, which means it's not completely in the Rally.io project's control. And that means there are some things that are easier to do with the Forte sidechain and some things that are harder. For instance, interoperability between the Forte sidechain and Ethereum mainnet, a little bit harder, not completely in our control. And that's why it feels like a kind of a half step between centralized Web 2 and fully decentralized Web 3. However, when we talk about Web 2, there's a lot to learn from Web 2 and a lot that we shouldn't throw away. Web 2 has really excellent user experiences. If anyone has ever struggled with setting up a wallet or funding a wallet or bridging to a new chain, you understand that Web 3 is not notable for its fantastic user experiences right now. We think Rally as a project and as a community, one of our superpowers is bringing some of those Web 2 style experiences to the Web 3 ethos and helping you and your communities interact with these new Web 3 tools in a way that they're more accustomed to. So we kind of honor our Web 2 roots. We are excited about our Web 3 future. And a lot of what we've built now is in this Web 2.5 state. And a lot of the rest of this presentation is going to be how we go from where we are now to a really awesome future that we can see together. Next slide, thanks. So what does it mean to build the tools and services that matter most to creators? Okay, we think to properly support a token-based community, we have to do a lot of things. First, we have to understand our tools ourselves. You've heard Brian and Claire both talk about many of the things that we're doing to train. It turns out we're also working with the R coin and doing a tremendous amount of learnings on our side to actually understand how communities can best use this combination of social tokens and NFTs. And we want to both master that and teach and learn all at the same time. It's a pretty tall order, but we think it's crucial to actually bringing people along this journey with us and demonstrating the value. Next, we think that Rally as a company, as a product, as a metaphor is a toolbox, and that toolbox is going to constantly need new things for people to be able to do. Dave's quote is right on point. That creator just wants more things they can do with their coin. That is something I'm going to start calling utility, particularly token utility, and you're going to hear it about 40 more times before my 120 minutes is over. Next, offerings to wherever communities want to build. This is going to be another key point for this presentation. This is a concept called chain agnosticism. And given that I have an entire slide coming up on it, I'm not going to spoil it, but I think you guys know what we're talking about. Anyway, and then guiding communities towards Web3. Web3 is important to us. It's not just a set of tools. It's not just a set of protocols or blockchains. It's also an ethos, and it's also a set of principles. And we think that those principles are important, and we want to help particularly token-based communities to embrace them. And then finally, given how much Web2 style user experience we're devoted to providing, that does also mean that we need to protect communities and help people and ensure that tools that we create are used for their intended purposes and not bad ones. And we're going to be in tension between our desire to decentralize and the needs to protect. And that tension is going to play out visibly and in public. We're going to have lots of conversations about it, but it's really important that we note, in order for the most communities to succeed and the most creators to succeed, there needs to be a way to protect people. Next slide. All right. I promised there was a slide on this. Let's talk about chain agnostic. We think that Rally has an opportunity to get the benefits of a key Web3 principle, which we call interoperability, by moving more directly to a main chain where we can essentially get anyone who develops to that chain able to utilize and develop against what we're doing with Rally, and reverse. Anything we've done with Rally is natively interoperable with that main chain. That's the sort of the promise of moving to add an L1 to our portfolio. But why agnostic instead of just mainnet? Because we also think there's a huge role for the sidechain. When we say agnostic, we really mean that there should be an L1 in our portfolio, there should be multiple L1s in our portfolios, and also L2s, and also sidechains, and that we should be able to bring our tool sets and our values to any of those places where people are developing. This is obviously going to take a lot of time, but when we stand up our first L1 inside of Rally, we intend to have that be a model to stand up many, many, many more. And that, again, it's going to take a little time, but this is why we say agnostic and not just mainnet. And then the burden on us is to provide a user experience that unites all those various chains and that makes working with Solana or Avalanche or Polygon as seamless as it is working with the sidechain now, and vice versa, and ideally improves the experience for the sidechain relative to what it is now. Cool, so that's chain agnosticism. Next up, I want to actually talk about some of the ramifications of going to multi-chain, because there are, I'm sure, a lot of potential questions. We do foresee at least 3 different ways of interacting with this. So what we've got right now is option A. You can launch on the sidechain and chill out there, and you will benefit from Rally support, having admin tool access and being able to say, fix your accounts, or look after transactions, or you otherwise provide that sort of Web 2 level of service that everyone is used to us providing at present. And we think a lot of communities are going to be of the size or of the aspiration where staying on the sidechain and having 0 fees and having 0 gas is really, really appealing. And we also think there are a lot of communities that are going to want to launch directly on a mainnet. And that's great. We will need to figure out gas. We'll need to figure out all of the additional sort of burdens and expenses of going to a mainnet. It's one of the reasons Solana is attractive, is some of those burdens are a little bit lower than Ethereum mainnet currently. But either way, we want to enable a launch directly onto a mainnet for future coins. But then finally, option C is an incredibly important engineering North Star for us. If you're on the sidechain now, it makes absolutely no sense for Rally to expand to a mainnet if we cannot also allow our current sidechain coins to make that leap if they choose. The specifics of this is that going from a sidechain to an L1 is probably a one-way door for a community and a token. And we could talk specifically about some of this in the Q&A, but we should think about it as sidechain can stay there forever, and can migrate to a mainnet. And once you're on a mainnet, cool, that's your new home. And while we do intend for you to be able to swap between multiple mainnets at some point in the future, ultimately think of it as a bit of a one-way door out from the sidechain. So don't want to belabor that point, but just since I know it's going to come up and since I know this is a hot topic, I spent a little extra time on it. Cool. And up next, we've got building meaningful partnerships with the creative ecosystem. So there are a couple of ways to take this. The first is we've got folks like Dave and the Creator Development Council and all the wonderful developers that are currently already working with us on the sidechain and all the thousands more that we want to bring in. And we need to give them the tools that they need to make awesome products. And that is core to our identity. In addition, we also want to look at places where creators are currently succeeding. Maybe that's Twitch, maybe that's YouTube, maybe that's Patreon or Kickstarter. We want to find ways to forge partnerships with those people as well, because our goal is to help creators and communities succeed, token-based creators and communities succeed. And that means interfacing with the things that they're doing to make a living already, not replacing, not being in conflict with. And so this is an expression of our aspiration to be a universal token in the sense of we want to work with anyone who will partner with us, as long as they're already in the space and a force for good for creators. So a big picture thing for us, and hopefully we'll be able to talk about this and see some more action on this soon. So lots of words. The next couple of slides talk about how we're going to turn these words into action and into tangible products and tangible features that make your lives better. On this next slide, perfect, Brian, we've got our 5 verticals. Each of these verticals is going to have a specific, yes, Katie, each of these each of these verticals is going to have a specific product manager with engineering and funding and support behind him or her, and represents an area of key investment for us. I'm just going to briefly touch on them. Ultimately, some of this is sausage making, but in the interest of transparency, this model allows all of us to get a lot more leverage and will allow us to be able to hook up community members directly with people who are working on the problems they care about. Token lifecycle encompasses minting, burning, and setup of social tokens and NFTs. And our token lifecycle PM, a gentleman named Rajesh, is focused on both easing the operational burden of doing all these things to allow us to improve our tempo of launching coins, which helps everyone as we bring more blood and more life into the system, as well as giving existing coins more options. So things like, did we want to be able to migrate from token bonding curve 1 to token bonding curve 2? Do we want to make changes to flow controls? Do we want to understand how our existing rules of the road are written? Great. Rajesh has a mandate to go figure out a lot of those problems. There is no rally without our communities, and our communities, I believe, mostly are in a growth mindset and in a growth mode. Our PM, Alec, whom many of you have seen from, shockingly, the Growth Initiative, he's going to be looking after the idea that we are building tools and concepts and apps to help communities grow together. Some of those are going to be internal feeling, like the referral system, and some of those are going to actually be solving different problems, like communication inside of communities. What does it mean to have a token-based community where we believe in the radical ownership of a person's metadata and still enable free-flowing communication within the members of those communities? These are the kinds of problems that Alec is going to be facing in the community growth vertical. We've talked about utility. I warned you I'd talk about utility about 30 more times in this presentation. Here's the first of those. We're making all these tokens. These tokens can and should be able to do much, much, much more. The world is, the sky is the limit, right? These tokens are composable and we're able to program on top of them. So Scott Leach, whom I believe everybody on this call knows very, very well, is going to be expanding his mandate outside of NFTs to thinking about utility across social tokens and NFTs and any other token we produce. So anything you want to see a token do that is inherent to the token is going to be Scott. And in contrast, anything that you see a token, anything that you want a token to do that is, say, interoperating with somebody else's app or working in somebody else's ecosystem is going to be my good friend Robert in our ecosystem utility. So take our tokens, take them elsewhere, have our tokens do cool things on site. We've got both covered. And now we have someone focusing really, really, I like what you did there, Dave, really, really closely on all the things that tokens should be able to do. And then it is even a disservice to say last but not least, because actually, most importantly, none of this works if the software doesn't work, if things fall over, if we can't accept payments, if we can't do transfers, and ultimately the infrastructure, both for Web 2.5 and in the future for Web 3, is under the very capable hands of Caroline. So she is going to be, and again, many of you have seen her in Discord, you've seen her on these meetings, and you know that she is already deeply, deeply, deeply embedded in this area. And she has even more mandate to take us to the next level of this, particularly as we think about going deeper in Web3 and adding main chains. Okay, we're coming into a landing, I promise. So one of the key things that I hope you're hearing is that we are pushing responsibility, authority, and accountability to people that are closer to communities, to people that are closer to engineers, and we are trying to decentralize product development. And each of those people is going to have an opportunity to talk internally to the team and to you all as our community about their hopes, dreams, and aspirations and what they would like to accomplish with their individual roadmaps. So I'm not going to give you a roadmap by team or by group or by vertical, because that's ultimately that PM's responsibility. And they're going to need the sort of white space time and the mental time to figure out, and also the listening time, of course, to figure out what they think is best. But given that we have a project that's in flight, I think one, it's important to talk about what the key themes can and should be, and two, what are the things that we are focused on now, even as we figure out the details with their individual PMs and engineers. These are those key themes. Native on an L1, new growth tools for communities, new utility for tokens, and that's specifically to things that have already been announced, particularly in the NFT space, as well as thinking about social token utility in new ways. Develop our critical infrastructure. Those are 4 things that absolutely must happen. And then my commitment to you is that I'm also still focused on making sure that we have the right team. A very important component to a good product team is research. And that research understands your needs, understands community's needs, and understands new users' needs. That is a capability we're going to be adding in the very near future. Further, data science is a full 360 push from us, where we want to provide more data to creators, and we want to provide more data to internal consumers and utilizers of that data, and that means a good data science team. And last but not least, we've talked a lot about user experience. We have a fantastic user experience lead now, and we're going to empower her to make a lot of really cool changes. Cool. Want to just close with, this is very much the strategy layer. So I'm not getting into the details of the weeds about stuff we've shipped recently, stuff we're going to ship next week. We will start opening communication on that even more aggressively, particularly as individual PMs get more ownership around all of that. So, but staying at the strategy layer, our next steps are each vertical is going to get a chance to develop the roadmap and then present it to the community. We are going to be working more to do KPI readouts and retros in public with the community in order to make sure that the stuff we build is accountable to you guys and can be demonstrated to have done its job. And then we are going to ramp up and improve the tempo of our communication around releases and roadmap. I don't know if you remember last year, but it took me being around for 6 months, and it took Jeremiah prodding me in September for us to release a first draft roadmap in December. Yeah, we're going to do better. And pushing everything down and out is going to make that a lot easier. So that was a lot of words. I got them by the bushel. They were discount at Costco. What can I say? But that is me, and I really appreciate the opportunity to talk to you guys.
We appreciate you. Thanks, Chris. That was stellar. I did drop a link in the chat as well to the setting the course for 2022 forum post from Bremner that Chris has replied to with the product update as well. So there's more details there. Thanks again. Really exciting to see it, and the feedback in the chat. Super positive. With that, we're going to move on to kudos and Q&A. Be sure to hop over to Slido. You can use that QR code or hop over to slido.com and drop in the 622068. I'm going to pause sharing screens for a minute so I can get set up with the Slido window, and we'll get it going.
What was that Slido number again? That was fast.
622068. Drop a link in the chat again as well. All right. Let's dive into questions. Up first, is there a timeline for creator coins on Solana? Chris, maybe I'll tap you for that.
There is a timeline, ASAP. ASAP probably doesn't mean what you want it to mean. So this is our P0. We are working on this as aggressively as we can. Part of setting up our strategy this way is to make sure that we continue to fulfill community expectations and continue to be able to run Rally, while a large chunk of us go and figure out how to make this happen as quickly and as effectively and as at high quality as we can. So trust me, this is what we are living, breathing, eating, sleeping all day long. And we are going to be doing a lot of work on this, and we are going to be checking in frequently. So more to come. We're going to make it happen as quickly as we can.
Awesome. Great answer. Thanks, Chris. Up next, can we have a WRLY radio station, which Brian DJs for and announces coin news on the hour? I would love that. Bremner, let's maybe talk after the show, and we'll figure out how to build that into my scope. Cool. Thanks, KT. Let's see. Next up, can we further dig into why Rally is not a one-way door, but creator coins have to be?
Sure, absolutely, Mason. The RLY token is native to Ethereum, and the RLY token was constructed as the basis for all of the things we're doing on the sidechain. The RLY token will continue to be our native token and our governance token, and will continue to be the basis for all creator coins, no matter whether we have to wormhole it to Solana or do anything else to make that true. And actually, the existence of the RLY token and its ability to move is very distinct from why sidechain stuff is a one-way door. Sidechain stuff is a one-way door because of the sidechain's architecture. This is an architecture that is controlled by a company called Forte. Forte has their own objectives and KPIs and customers, and we're not even close to their biggest customer. So they're doing the right things for their business. And to make sure that we are doing the right things for the community and the project, we are moving to chain agnosticism. And chain agnosticism means that when we stand up an architecture for, say, Solana, we're going to make it with interoperability in mind, with the opportunity to not have one-way doors in mind. What we can't do, however, is insist that Forte follow us along that journey. And so there are some things with the sidechain that are currently out of our hands.
Thanks, Chris. Is Rally planning to be at any live or in-person events this year? I'll kick that one over to our main man, Kurt.
I know one of
everybody. Yes. Well, let's just say knock on wood. We've had plans for the last 8 or 9 months now to be at a lot of in-person events, and COVID has kind of thwarted that plan. But yes, that is the plan. Right now, we're planning it being at ETH Denver, CEX, that I know a lot of you are involved in already, VidCon, NFT LA, and Consensus. The way that we're looking at this is, how do we tell our story and who are the audiences we want to get in front of? So if I was being brave and sharing the whole events calendar, which I won't because it's not locked in yet, it's a nice mix of events that target the creator economy, Web3, as well as music and gaming. The next up for us is ETH Denver, and Joe, I believe, is on the line. You want to give a quick overview of that?
Yes, happy to do that. So we will be at ETH Denver next month. Right now we have a bounty program planned. So trying to bring more of these great devs into our dev ecosystem that Dave and Jason talked about a little bit earlier. So we'll be doing a few bounties, building on top of Rally and trying to bring more people into the ecosystem.
Awesome. Thanks, Kurt. Thanks, Joe. Question from Jeremiah. Governance features, are they on the roadmap? One of the hallmarks of Web3 is the ability for communities to vote or decide regarding the community's focus.
I'm going to answer this question in two ways. The first is the direct answer because it's a great question and it deserves it. So the direct answer is, Jeremiah, yes, absolutely. I view this as a component of social token utility. And by empowering Scott to think about NFT utility and social token utility, this is exactly the kinds of features that I want him to go think about, build, and provide to the community. The other way I'm going to answer is probably the way I'll start answering in the future, which is the PM of internal utility or token utility controls the roadmap, which this would include. And if that PM has presented a roadmap which has this on it, it's in. And so ideally, when we see Scott's roadmap, we'll see things like governance on it, and we'll be able to celebrate that together.
Awesome. Thanks, Chris. Does R have any plans to drop an NFT project with utility? Maybe on that one, Claire, do you want to give a sneak peek of what we've been working on?
For the, sorry, excuse me, the utility question?
Yeah.
Yes, so,
yeah, regarding the mint sprint that we've been talking about.
Yeah, we have a cool program actually that we are going to be launching shortly that is for our smaller creators who are looking for a proving ground as the reason why they want to show where they're able to rally their community to really allow them to have a social token. So with this, we'll allow them to mint an NFT on the R coin, and there will be thresholds that they'll need to go ahead and hit in order to qualify for the social token. So it's essentially a mint sprint, as we've been calling it. So these will have utility as well, so that if someone holds the NFT and they don't necessarily qualify for the mint sprint, they still have an NFT that holds utility and something that will allow them to continue moving forward with that NFT. So that could be a gated WordPress account or a gated WordPress site, could be access to events or tickets to various platforms. And other than that, it could also be just an exchange for the specific token that they were to receive if they qualify for the mint sprint. So we're excited to launch this in the next couple of weeks and really get it going, but it ultimately is focusing on our creators who are potentially smaller and might not be as developed as others on the platform.
Awesome. Thanks a ton, Claire. Up next is the Creator Coin continuity being prioritized in the potential expansion to Solana? We already have a divided class of creators on old versus new token bonding curves.
100% yes. This is core to our framing, thinking, and belief about chain agnosticism. And this is why it is not a one-off migration, nor is it an abandonment of the sidechain. These chains need to be interoperable inside of the Rally project, and that is one of the things that's going to make this larger and more expensive and more scopeful than we may want. But it's crucial, I think, to make sure that our communities that have already invested with us, already invested their time with us and their energy with us, and already supported us to this point, always feel front and center.
Great. I think, Chris, let's talk more about Solana. I'm going to keep hitting you with these. Let's talk about the recent instability on Solana and with regards to, like, especially people new to this space, Solana could be harder for them to use than a closed ecosystem like Rally.
Solana will be harder for them to use than a closed ecosystem like Rally. So answering in reverse order, that's 100% the case. And that is actually going to be a key consideration for token-based communities when they decide whether they should go directly to Solana, start on the sidechain, or migrate. There are going to be certain communities that are ready for that additional jump, either because of the sophistication of community members or because of the sophistication of their desire or ability to internally train community members to handle these new chains. But again, this is why we think chain agnosticism makes so much sense. and why we aren't just going direct L1. Having the opportunity to stay on the sidechain potentially forever, we think is going to be a key superpower for certain types of communities. In terms of Solana instability, we think that in general, Solana has actually held up okay. If you look at the specifics of the instability, it has largely been about delayed transactions with some cancellations, from my understanding, as opposed to transactions getting lost in the ether or failed without notification or other things that would indicate a really bad experience. And most of the impact of this has been on high velocity DeFi transactions. That doesn't currently describe rally transactions. And we think that by the time we're able to embrace Solana fully, one, Solana should be more stable because they'll have a better understanding of their traffic curves and what they need to throttle. And two, we also just don't think we'd be the kinds of transactions that would be aggressively affected.
Awesome. And another Solana one, we'll keep going. How would Rally rewards change with the move to platform agnosticism? Would Rally be distributed as rewards on Solana?
Yeah, so if a coin was on Solana, they would receive SRLY or Solana native RLY, and they would sorry, I'm being invaded. And they would receive rewards like normal. So Rally.io can be understood as an app inside of the Rally Network Association. And from the RNA's perspective, the Network Association's perspective, any locked up Rally and any new accounts are what they're going to drive rewards to us for. That allocation is going to ignore which chain they're on, but we will pay out rewards in the chain specific way that for the chain specific to the coin that earned the rewards.
Awesome.
The only other thing I might add on that is that as we move into these other chain environments, there might be different objectives as it relates to growth of the communities within those environments. And so the reward structure might mirror that. So as we look at what it could look like on Solana, maybe there are different types of reward structures than what's been outlined for this rewards V2 launch that we would obviously communicate and vet with the community before any changes, but that might align with the different objectives of that chain specifically. So,
for example, if you've done any liquidity pools on Solana, you know that there are some liquidity pools that double dip, where both the project and Sol are rewarded as grants. If we had an opportunity to work with a partner that was able to do something like that, absolutely, we'd jump on that in a heartbeat because that's really good for the community.
Awesome. Thanks both. Speaking on rewards, is there a rough ETA for the rewards change? Will there be a heads up in advance, and what forum would the announced date be posted on?
Yes, and there's actually going to be a whole GTM for talking about the rewards changes. Sorry, GTM means go to market. That means we're structuring an entire communication plan and rollout plan that is intended to give lots of heads up, to do lots of comparisons between new rewards and old rewards. And we're also planning to roll out changes to the rewards in a fairly measured fashion. I think if you've heard me give the presentation on rewards, you know that there are 3 different mechanics of things that the new rewards system is intended to incentivize. Rally backing will get incentivized with rewards. New account growth will get incentivized rewards. And then high amounts of transactions between creators and fans or community participants and community leaders will also get incentivized rewards. We're going to roll those out one at a time. And we're going to roll those out with a lot of heads up on what the impact will be to your expected rewards. So more to come on that, and you'll hear from us very soon. It remains our highest near-term product priority, with L1 being the highest product priority after that.
Awesome. And from a communication perspective, expect to see it in in all of the email updates, notifications on Discord as well, all of the usual ways we get a hold of you. Cool. Does Rally.io have a media buying agency of record to help create more awareness of the Rally creators and the ecosystem? I wonder, Bremner, could I ask you that one?
Yeah, sure. So Rally.io has been working with the marketing agency over the past, call it 6 to 9 months, and really working to figure out strategies for amplifying Rally.io, the creators that are on Rally.io, and the overall ecosystem. an aspect of that marketing agency is media buying, but we haven't initiated any media buying as of yet because we were really in the process of moving our brand narrative, our vision, and our direction into a place where we were ready to tell the world about sort of this expanded vision for Rally.io. To that end, this is not an official introduction because we'll do official introductions at another moment in time, but our new VP of marketing just joined on Monday of this week, Deanna Dong, and is in the process of onboarding, and she and I are working on our marketing priorities for the rest of the year. And so in the coming weeks, we'll present that out to the community and give some visibility into all the various different areas that we're going to be prioritizing from a marketing standpoint to drive that amplification and visibility for Rally.io, the vision that we're working on, the creative communities that are on the platform, and the ecosystem that's being built around us. So more to come on that for sure.
Awesome. Thanks, Bremner. How do the recent increased KYC requirements fit the Web3 ethos? Chris, do you want?
Yeah, no, and this is something that Caroline, our PM, who has been focused on this, has expressed extensively in developer meetings. So I'm going to echo her for a minute. When it comes to ethos, KYC is a function of being able to bring in fiat currency. So when you have the ability to swipe a credit card, you have a lot of traditional finance, TradFi obligations, full stop. We think that fiat currency is an incredibly important component of the service and offer that we provide as part of the Rally project. And we think that your communities work better with the ability to have fiat in. So with that comes obligations to meet regulatory requirements. I would say the Web3 ethos that we can expand upon and believe in is that we should be thinking about ways for people to choose their degree of involvement and for people to have certain accounts which can't do fiat in and perhaps have lower requirements. It's not a product promise, nor is it even a product spec anywhere but inside of my head. But when I think about trying to make sure that we fulfill our Web3 ethos for you guys, I'm going to be leaning in those directions in order to make sure that we aren't insisting one size fits all for all communities and that we are able to provide as many options as we can.
Amazing.
One other thing, Brian, that I'll add is that, the KYC capabilities are really meant to protect the communities that are on the platform. And it is a result of being in this sidechain environment and being able to monitor and protect the communities on the sidechain environment. And so some of these KYC requirements that exist for the environment that we live in now might be different as we move into more trustless systems on L1 chains. So expect there to be different architectures and different ways of approaching these things as we move to mainnet experiences. But again, the KYC checks are really with the intent of protecting communities and ensuring that we are safe and compliant on the sidechain.
Awesome. Thank you both.
As an actual OMI, I'm happy to take the next one, Brian. Also as an OMI who got in around 450, there doesn't seem to be much floor for Olympus. That's just a DeFi degen joke. Moving on. So the answer to the broader question about, I'm just going to expand a little bit. DeFi concepts and their application to both creator coins and RLY. As it comes to RLY, talk to Amit. Let's talk to the Rally Network Association. I think they have a lot of things they'd love to do, and there may be a lot of really cool concepts that they can pull in for the RLY token itself. When it comes to creator coins, we absolutely are thinking about DeFi as an area of social token utility that we should expand to. So I think governance is a little closer and a little more urgent, but all of that stuff is inbounds. These are conversations that we should have. I don't have anything I can share with you now other than my deep distress and despair about the quality of my own portfolio. But in the meantime, yeah, keep these coming.
Thanks, Chris. Sorry for all the pain on the OM front. I think we're going to get through all of these. Where can we see the features that are being supported by each of these projects or bots? Jason, I'll tap you for that one.
Yeah, it's a great question. I think right now the best approach is to have a holistic view into where all these sit. And we have something that we're going to put on our played as a work in progress to just have a repository where this will all be easy to access and viewable, so we do a better job of communicating out to the group. So we'll be chatting through that and kind of what we can do there, and hope to have an update for you soon on that.
Awesome. Thanks, Jason. And the last one here, I think we touched on this one already in talking about Rally to Solana. If the question is around kind of porting to other chains, I don't know, Chris, do you want to touch on that?
The one thing I can mention is that one advantage of having a token on Solana is that the creator coin or the social token itself will be an SPL, which is the equivalent of an ERC20. And so that will be natively interoperable with other ecosystems inside of Solana, or with other apps, with other things that you can do. That's one of the big things. That's one of the big changes to the architecture. It's one of the big things that we'd be excited to provide. So I think if hopefully that overwhelmingly answers the question as a yes, and tells you, what our aspirations are.
Totally love it. Awesome. Thanks a ton for joining, everyone. Really a pleasure. We're ending right on the hour. We'll see you again in 2 weeks. Thanks, y'all.